Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. This is my initial thoughts video for Ocean Breeze Luluca. As you can see there, she's looking very nice. This is one of the event, like the poster thingies you can get in the game by trading in your event currency. It's really good art, and I think everybody's been noticing that she has a bigger chest than she usually does, so props to the artist that Smilegate hired to draw this. I think this is a very nice image of Luluca. These are some of the concept art. As you can see there, it just doesn't look like she has the bust, but I mean, I'm a leg guy, so you guys know that. I always talk about this in videos. It makes me sound like a degen, but I like legs more anyway. Cool. So let's talk about the hero. So Ocean Breeze Luluca is an Earth Gemini Soul Weaver, and I mean, with the color scheme you really couldn't tell, but that being said, it's fine. And Gemini is, very popular, for quite a while now for the for Soul Weavers. I mean, Sharoon recently got buffed. I think she's a Gemini as well, if I'm not mistaken. But Ahmed for sure, who was our last limited Soul Weaver, who had a huge impact on the meta, and I think Ocean Breeze Luluca will as well. And I think they probably even decided to swap her to an Earth hero, perhaps a bit late into the game, just because of how the RTA season, or rather the RTA meta, kind of shifted with the Jacko buff, with the ML Rwanda release. Peyra, Rans, Zeos, they've been running a lot more rampant, so I feel like the anti-element against ice was a part of the change. So she may have been blue, but who knows? I know that's just speculation at this point, but luckily enough that I think this will help her go against some of those openers, so Peyra, Ran, so to speak. So the speed is pretty decent. It's 105. It's not the best, but it is pretty decent. It's not DJB by any stretch of the imagination. It's not what do you call it? Those type of Soul Weavers, but the defense is good. The HP is good. ER is also really good. Again, the Gemini Soul Weavers had that buff, like I think a year ago now, that swapped more stats into the ER, which is great. And then self-imprint concentration of 27%, which is not a bad thing. Same thing as Ahmed. Realistically, they have the exact same stat line. I think the imprint release here though is different because we have a health, and in Ahmed's case it was attack. I think health for her is pretty good too, because I think her role is not you going aggro, but it's kind of like reacting to aggro cleave with a tanky team. So her kit really just smells of that the entire way, which I think, the imprint release being HP is just more fitting anyway. But let's talk about skill 2. So one Luluca special. After an enemy uses a non-attack skill, gains 2 focus and increases the combat range of the caster by up to 25%, including all the skill enhancement. So 25% CR boost, not too shabby. Can only be activated once every 2 turns. I think that's fine. Most people can't extra turn that much anyway, so she'll pretty much be reloaded by the second person's or second hero's non-attack skill. Alright, so after using a skill, when focus is full, consumes all focus and activates Luluca's special delivery. Luluca's special delivery reads, attacks all enemies who are interrupting her delivery, dispelling 2 buffs and an 85% chance to inflict silence for 1 turn, and a 100% chance to decrease hit chance for 2 turns, before decreasing skill cooldowns of the caster by 1 turn. So overall, this skill is pretty good, right? So you think about Benimaru, and when he was released, my initial thoughts video for Benimaru was that, like, heroes can hold their skills, right? But in Benimaru's case, Benimaru was a damage dealer, and he also needed to find the balance of still being able to do damage depending on the opponent's draft. So if someone did like a Sea Lilius first pick, you don't Benimaru right away, because they can end up bulking up, and Benimaru, depending on your build, he could be too squishy, just killed by a Sea Lilius S1, draw with a DPS or something, or he'd be too bulky and not be able to kill Sea Lilius' team's bulk. But Ocean Breeze Luluca does not have that flaw, because she brings so much more support in terms of the reactive type of kit, right? So again, Benimaru needs a hero to do not a non-attack skill, but realistically a two turn skill, or gaining an extra turn. And most of the time I'm almost seeing these two as the same things, because they're really dealing the same things, because most of the two-turn heroes, at least the openers, Ran, Payra, C, Lilius, all have non-attack skills. Okay, so this is where Ocean Breeze Luluca's mechanic is slightly different from Benimaru without as much limitation, because non-attack skills can be anything from a Nox Slots S2 to anything that's, you know, that isn't even a, you know, gain an extra turn skill, right? So just non-attack skill in general, very, very solid. I think it covers more bases than Benimaru's mechanic did, but I'm only comparing those two because when Benimaru was initially like released, the info, a lot of people thought, oh, it's the end of C Lilius or whatever, and it wasn't, and he wasn't that effective early pick. But I think Ocean Breeze Luluca brings a lot more to the table for turn 2 players, even usable there, but also usable in terms of aggro, anti-cleave, anti-aggro to some degree. So the Luluca special delivery, I do want to compare this to kind of like the Shuna. Am I saying that? I get confused with Shurun and Shuna sometimes. Shuna's buff was so monumental, especially if she was Eternus, for like anti-C Lilius. Like if you had like 250 ER and you had really good speed, you could cut with Eternus. Like it's pretty much game over for those who have C Lilius drafting into DPSs, because like Shuna has 100% sleep chance and then 100% attack down. Whereas Luluca, if you're using it to the same scenario, you have an 85% chance to inflict silence, which is detrimental as well, but a full turn, like a full team asleep, when you're comparing to Shuna, that's much more aggressive. But of course, Shuna also had an issue because she doesn't push as easy or as far as Ocean Breeze Luluca. So I feel like if Smilegate designed Luluca's kit after, like post Shuna, like post reaction to Shuna's use in RTA, I think I wouldn't be surprised. Like I almost feel like they were just buffing up the way Shuna was used, as in they'd be able to disable the team, but was a Soul Weaver and do some Soul Weaver things, and Lulucans can still do that too. So that's what I think. I mean, the S2 I think is very solid overall. She's gonna be pretty good. At least I think right off the bat she'll be usable. If she's not like core meta, she will be like usable on day 1 after you build her to some degree. It's just because again, it covers too much non-attack skill like as a mechanic for a 25% CR boost that can lead into like full team defense buff, cleanse, and dispelling opponents' buffs, and then debuffing them all in one go is super high value. There's not much she can't do, and the thing is, you'll probably build her decently fast enough that, like, you know, if anything, like if no one uses an non-attack skill, like the holder skill, if anything, she would be a full team defense buffer with her S3, which is also really good, right? So you're punishing the opponent by pushing buttons and not pushing buttons, and in both senses, her kit doesn't have, like, again, that flaw that Benimaru did, right? So Benimaru couldn't get off an AoE if he doesn't have that, I forgot what it's called, but the passive that he gets to get extra focus or whatever, fighting spirit. Like she doesn't have that issue, right? So like her kit works whether they hold their skill or not. But skill 3, so this is the other side of the coin, acquires 3 focus and then acquires 3 souls. So the 3 focus part is important because based on the combat video, she starts off with 2 focus, right? So, oh sorry, if they use an attack skill, gains the 2 focus here. So if they do it, she'll be able to do the S2. It's confusing. You gain the fighting spirit here, but then you also gain fighting spirit here, and then you unlock into the S2. So the Luluca special delivery gets outputted here after you do the S3, right? So she's a combo hero this way. So anti-aggro, but not just anti-aggro, she reverse aggros, right? So quality customer service, dispels 2 debuffs from all allies, which is good. most of the openers that I've talked about right now have 2 debuff potential. So Sea Lilius, Peyra, Ran. I guess Peyra, if you do it into a stun, I guess there's 3. But in most cases, it's about 2 debuffs. And then grants increased defense for 2 turns, which is insane value. And then also gives Ice Cream or an Ice Cream. So Ice Cream is undispellable after being attacked, recovers 20% of max health, dispelled after being attacked. So this is why I was saying that, like, you know, Ocean Breeze Luluca will be a reactive hero to aggressive play. While if they hold their buttons, you get a defense buff anyway and you get Ice Cream. So that's the way that she heals. Now Ahmed is an aggressive pusher that, you know, like compared to Luluca, is offering more of aggressive play because she does the skill null protection, but then she has no healing, she has no sustain, but the Ice Cream does, right? And if if she casts the Luluca special delivery, as you can read at the bottom there, before decreasing skill cooldowns of the caster by 1 turn, then, you know, it realistically gives this skill cooldown a 3-turn cooldown, right? So its cooldown is 5 turns on the screen there, -1 is 4, but if it's in the best case scenario, you are doing the S3 and then her focus is full, and then Luluca special delivery goes, and then you get another skill cooldown. So 3-turn cooldown, but 2-turn defense buff, right? So you have 1 turn that is not active. But if you're using Ocean Breeze Luluca anyway, I think the ideal draft would be like, you first pick, like, let's say Last Rider Crow or someone tankier, maybe even Sea Lilius, and then they go to aggro someone even faster than you, Peyra, Ran, etc. Ocean Breeze Luluca can come in and you already have your Knight and then maybe a couple bruisers. You have Ice Cream to help support, and a defense buff to help support on any type of cleave incoming. I just think that she holds a lot of value. Imagine you have heroes on protection set as well. Your team is pretty much foolproof. You have your other anti-aggro heroes, of course, like a Dilibet or a Karina, you know, depending on the comp, maybe Sage Ball. So she'll be a very, very solid pick in those situations, with very, very little punishing effect that I can predict, in terms of like they can pivot out of Ocean Breeze Luluca. Like she just brings, like, I think, a lot to the table here. But as I compared to someone like Shuna, being able to sleep 100% and attack down 100% is huge, right? So the play is vastly different, but there are some similarities in where you would, you know, pick Shuna. She, like, realistically, she disables the DPS just as much as Shuna does. But yeah, anyways, Ocean Breeze Luluca, skill 1 attacks the enemy with overflowing energy, increase the combat range of the ally, with the highest combat range except for the caster by 10%, and it's plus 15, so 15% if you max or mold it up to plus 5. So I remember, I mean, so similar to Hand Guy, right? And it's not terrible. If you Soul Burn, it increases the combat range of all allies, and I think Soul Weaver is getting you know, combat range itself as 1, or combat range, you know, to your teammates or something. It's not like it's not new, so I'm not super crazy about this skill, but in my opinion, I think she does all her work in the S2. The S2 passives and the S3 anyway. This is just nice to have, but I can see like they don't necessarily want to give her more than that. So here's the artifact, right? So Soul Constellation, increase the effect resistance, so looking at the max version, by 40%. After an enemy uses a non-attack skill, increase the combat range of the caster by an additional 16%. Can only be activated once per turn. So I think in some case, like, this artifact obviously is really good, especially with the context of the event that requires more of this artifact to get more currency, and the currency equals more gear. But you know, that being said, for the review here, or my initial thoughts, I won't talk about that event, but I made a RBTL video talking about my thoughts on the future, kind of forecasting Epic 7 with the new event structures. But in terms of this artifact, obviously you want to pull as many as possible, right? So for the very fact that it also has increased combat readiness on top of her 25%, and this could be used on any Soul Weaver. So just imagine this on, like, let's say an Omid, right? So I know that there are some people who run Omid on, let's say, Eternus, or some, I mean, this will be an addition to a defense Omid that will just, I think it brings insane value, because you don't know whether the Omid will push past your hero or something like that, and increasing the effect resistance by 40% is not too shabby at all. But it could work for her as well. I think that if your build for green Luluca can be fast enough and you could rely on just the 25% CR boost, I don't think you need this artifact on her. And I think you could build her like mid bulky, but like I said, in your draft scenario in World Arena, if she has, let's say, a Last Rider Crow or any type of mitigation on the team, which is, I think, the ideal situation for her, she can probably be drafted with faster speed, slightly lower bulk, obviously try to get as much ER as possible, but maybe even usable on some type of actual healing artifact. I don't know how good that will be, because she does rotate into her S2 and S3 very quickly, or S3 rather. So like something like a Celestine on S1 might not even be usable. So right now I'm gonna say for green Luluca, maybe this is her best in slot, but I can really see like Guardian Ice Crystals come back for her. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of decent Soul Weaver artifacts for her that I can think of right now. So it just depends on like her build realistically. If you're gonna play purely anti-aggressive, then I think this artifact might be her best in slot, giving you the security of extra ER and then a security of extra CR boost in case they, let's say, use Politis on their team or something as a book holder. Then you at least still get a bit more cutting, right? The thing is, I think that, you know, she'll trigger Politis, to be honest, but the thing is, when she gets her turn, she also cleanses the team. So realistically, Politis, unless it kills your team, is not going to do much to her team or the team that Luluca is supporting. So overall, I think she has a lot of value as a limited hero. Definitely going to be one that will be usable, I think, in World Arena, especially if you're competitive. And I think she's going to hold her place in the meta as a pretty pivotal hero for turn 2 players or people who are intercepting a cleave or an aggro. But regardless, this banner is super high incentive because not only is her kit good, but then we also have the event coming. The only thing that I have a question of, and I'll pose this question in this video, is that I don't know how to Lethe, the other waifu that was revealed. That will be revealed later in detail, but in terms of revealed that, oh, she's part of the side story, she's going to be a new hero. We already saw some S3 animations on her. Is she going to be an ML, or is she going to be an RGB hero? And I think perhaps just an RGB hero, but at the same time, it's like we don't have Lethe's or Lethe's artifact previewed in the event in terms of like giving you bonuses and stuff. So there's a lot of people saying that, hey, maybe she's a new ML5. We'll see. We'll talk about it when that video is released. But that's my thoughts on Ocean Breeze Luluca. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about her kit? What do you think she could be used? What kind of artifacts? Maybe that's a good one to talk about too. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this. I'm going to end this here. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. And again, like I said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on the next one.